All right, everybody. Welcome, one and all Eagles fans. Welcome. Thank you for listening or watching. This is the Bald Eagle Podcast. I'm Shawn Cressman. I'm the Bald Eagle. Caw. That was my family. I don't want to get too personal here, but my family always yells at me and tells me I should do that sound. They think it's hilarious. So you're welcome. All right. This is the Bald Eagle Podcast, 100% Philadelphia Eagles podcast, 99.9%. We talk a little bit about other teams, especially the ones that are in the NFC East, right? But 99.9% Philadelphia Eagles. And my podcast has 3 rules, okay? Very important to me. The first one, really, realistically, it only has one rule, right? The other 2 are just kind of, whatever. The first one that's most important to me, and I talk about this all the time, is no politics. No matter what's going on in the world, no matter what politics are happening, unless they affect the game, which politics didn't specifically, but COVID did last year. Unless it affects the game, I'm not going to talk about it. So if you're sick and tired of hearing about one side or the other side or the horrible things that they both do, just listen to my podcast, watch my podcast. You won't hear a single thing about that stuff. Number 2, I don't really talk about personal stuff. I mean, that's sort of an important rule for me because watching football every Sunday, Fox NFL, CBS, even ESPN, I think they have stories about the players and they tell you what the players did in the offseason, the farm equipment they bought, their sad story coming up. I don't really care about any of that stuff. And so I'm not going to share that on my show either. I'm not going to bore you with that stuff either. I could care less. I don't want to be insensitive, but I watch football to see how they play football. I love the game. I'm not that interested in their personal lives. And lastly, I'm not censored, so make sure the kids aren't around. All right, new segment. Well, that's not new anymore. I guess this is my 4th or 5th time doing it. Beer with the Birds. So every week I'm going to try a different beer. I'm going to try it from a Philadelphia brewery. I started with Yards Brewery. I just picked them out of a random a list. I think it was only 2 or 3 that popped up. So I've drank a couple of their beers. Today I'm going to be drinking. Let me put a visual up there for everybody on Facebook and all that stuff. Hold on, Elder. Hold on, Edler. Let me get through my spiel first. Let me drink my beer and then I'll answer your question. I got a comment already. But let me quick put up the beer that I'm drinking right now. I am drinking Yard's Pynk Sparkling Tart Berry Ale. So hopefully some of you guys grabbed one when you were out. So you can drink it with me while we're going through the podcast. Just a quick heads up just so you know what the beer is all about. And this was a unique one. It is the definition on the website is each sip of Pynk starts with a crisp, fruity zing and finishes refreshingly dry. The delightful pink hue comes from heaps of fresh raspberries and cherries in every batch. It's no wonder Pynk is called the Rose of Beer. So let's raise our bottles and pints to the good things in life, like family, friends, and beer. That brings us all together. Okay, so that's what I'm drinking today. It's not really a beer. It's a tart ale, a tart berry ale. Now, initially I saw this and I was thinking maybe I would skip it, right? Because, I'm not a fan of pink stuff and all that stuff. However, if you look closely at the label, there's a pink cancer ribbon. So it's cool. We can all drink this and not worry about our masculinity, right? For those on Instagram, what I'm talking about here is Pynk's Yard's Pynk Sparkling Tart Berry. So that's what I'm drinking today. For anybody that goes out and buys these and drinks with me, next week I'll be drinking their pale ale. I'm sorry, Graham, I don't have a picture for you, but it's the Philadelphia Pale Ale. It's a yellow label, also Yards. So that's what I'll be drinking next week. All right, so go Birds. It is very fruity, very sweet beer. By the way, that has alcohol content of 5.5. So if you were curious. Okay, let's start our countdown. We are counting down and we're not too far away. We're counting down to training camp. So we know that training camp is going to be on July 27th. We have exactly 27 days because today is June 30th. So this year, almost every team, all but 2, so 29 teams, all but 3, I was going to say 29 plus 2 is not 32. All but 3 teams are starting their training camps on July 27th. And most of them are having events on the following Saturday. The Eagles aren't having an event on the Saturday, at least that I'm aware of. I haven't found anything that said they were going to. The 3 teams that are allowed to start earlier Pittsburgh and Dallas can start earlier because they're playing an early game, the Hall of Fame game, August 5th. So they can start July 21st. Tampa Bay can start earlier on July 24th because they're playing in the first regular season game, which is a Thursday night. So they have a few extra days. They play a few days sooner than most. So that's coming, 27 days, and we got training camp. The next stop is August 5th through 9th is Hall of Fame weekend in Canton, Ohio. That's when the Cowgirls play the Steelers in the Hall of Fame game. Then we have what is, I think is probably, maybe I should do the countdown straight to this. I don't know. I don't want to be chronologically incorrect, but Sunday, August 8th at 7 p.m., the Eagles will have their first public practice at the Link. So that'll be the first time that the public can go see them. We can all go. I don't know. I don't want to mislead anybody here. Everybody should probably bring a mask. But from what I could tell, there are no mask requirements. There's no requirements at all from the city of Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. They both over 2 weeks ago announced that their all COVID restrictions are gone. So I don't think you should need anything. I think it should be normal, but maybe bring one just in case. But that's the first open practice, August 8th, 7 p.m. at the Link. And I checked about 40 minutes ago. I checked. Tickets are still available for both days because the Eagles have two public practices. The first one is August 8th at 7 p.m. Go Birds. The second one is Sunday, August 22nd at 7 p.m. So there's two, and both of them still have tickets available. $10 per ticket. There's no actual seating. You just walk in and sit where you want. So get there early. And that $10 just goes to the Eagles Autism Foundation. They're not doing it to make money. Okay, so that brings up the next step in our countdown, preseason. Now I'm going to go over all the games real quick. I'm not going to sit there and spend a lot of time on them. But as I've said before, I do this not only to help with my memory, not that I'll remember specific games, but perhaps remember the people we play, the primetime games that we have, right? I already know it's Dallas on Monday night, and we got another one on Thursday, but I can't remember who we play. Tampa Bay, that's our big game, right? We play the previous year's Super Bowl winners, right? So I go through this just for memory. And frankly, there's not a lot of stuff going on with the Eagles right now. We're in a kind of a dead zone between free agency has already passed. Of course, the draft is over. Schedules have been released. The Eagles aren't going to be doing anything as far as practicing until the 27th for training camp. So nothing's really happening. And that's evidenced by the Eagles website. If you had a chance to go by the last 3 or 4 articles, they talk about the cheerleaders, all kinds of stuff that really doesn't have to do with the game. So anyway, preseason starts for the Eagles starts Thursday, August 12th at 7:30 p.m. We play at home against the Steelers. Week 2 of the preseason, Thursday, August 19th, 7:30 p.m. We play at home against the Patriots. And then week 3, Friday, August 27th, we play in the Meadowlands, 7:30 p.m. against the Jets. And then because we have a 3-game preseason and a 17-game regular season, which I'm a fan of, I think it's great. There's 2 weeks now between preseason and regular season, which I think is really valuable. Anytime in the NFL that you can get any extra rest, that's one of the more valuable things you can do in the NFL is rest after games. I'm sitting here trying to wave on Instagram. I don't know if that means that they left or what, because I can't wave to them. Sorry, Instagram. I'm trying to wave to you guys, but I don't know. It's not working. Okay, so that's our preseason schedule. Let me get through the regular season. Oh man, we're loaded up with comments here. When am I going? I am going both days, Ryan. Here, I'm going to go through the comments here. I'm gonna. You guys are messing up my flow here, but that's fine, right? So let's go. Let's start with what I'm talking about. I can't wait to go to the stadium either, Ryan. And I am going both days. I'm going both days. I will be there both Sundays. I'll be at the stadium. Bought 4 tickets both times. I'm going to bring as many people as I can. Well, not as many people, but I'm going to grab some people to bring with me. But yeah, I'll be there both Sundays. Now let's get to, let's go. Hey, what's up, Elder? Edler, I'm sorry. Let's go to your question on Zach Ertz getting traded to the Bills soon. I hope it happens. I think Zach Ertz is, I think he peaked maybe a year ago. And I think he's getting older. We have a great replacement in Dallas Goedert. So I think I would be ecstatic if we were able to trade him somewhere and actually get something in return. Although I have a feeling that's most likely not going to happen. I have a feeling that he's just going to end up getting released. But I'm hopeful that somebody's willing to trade with us. And Edler, I will be, well, you might want to do it towards the end of practice, because if you try too hard to get close enough, they might kick you out. But just so you guys don't, and I don't know how many people have gone to training camp at the Link. but it's real fun. I mean, everything it's $10, right? So not really not expensive. You get to walk around the majority of the stadium. They have food like normal. They have concessions and you can buy jerseys and stuff like that. It was really neat though. A few years ago, I've gone every year it's been there. I think I might have missed 1 year because it happened to be I forget, like I feel like I had a conflict. So I only went to one that year. Philly Sports Line said they got on the field 1 year. I know that generally they let you on the field after practice. You walk around the end zones or whatever. And there's long lines for that. So I've never done that, but so, generally speaking, pre Super Bowl, the first half of the stadium, I don't know, I'd say like half, maybe 3/4 filled. After the Super Bowl, however, the first half of the stadium was I would say it was packed, and there was actually some overflow in the second top layers, like I guess above the 500 level, which was great because there's one thing to watch a game with a bunch of people, right? But while you're watching a game, you're actually paying attention. Well, you should be anyway, actually paying attention to the game. Practices you don't pay so close attention to, so it's more of a social thing when you're all. I mean, if it's that packed for a practice, so you can focus more on other things like the douchebags that wear cowgirl jerseys, right? Which they completely deserve everything they get. Of course, not any real physical violence, but anything that comes towards them, barring physical violence, they should expect going into the link with a Cowgirls jersey on. I mean, you might as well. I would never go to AT&T Stadium with a Philly. Well, I would go, but I would expect people to come after me if I did. So I think they should be a little more realistic. Let's see. Edler lives in South Jersey, so he's been to open practice a few times. I miss the time. I live up in the Lehigh Valley in Allentown, so I wish it was still at Lehigh University. That was great. That was great when it was there. Okay, so let me get back to our schedule. So we went through preseason. We got a two week space between regular preseason and regular season. Regular season officially starts Thursday, September 9th. Dallas is playing the Buccaneers on NBC. Should be a really good game. And then we play week 1 Sunday, September 12th, 1 p.m. at the Falcons. Week 2 Sunday, September 19th. We play the 49ers at home. Week 3, Monday night game, September 27th, 8:15 p.m. at the Cowgirls. We've actually played the Cowgirls in primetime every year since 2007, except 2014 when we played them on Thanksgiving. Week 4, Sunday, October 3rd, 1 p.m. at home against the Chiefs. Week 5, Sunday, October 10th, 1 p.m. at Carolina. Week 6, Thursday, October 14th, 8:20 p.m. So we have a Thursday night game against the Super Bowl winning Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Another side note, us and the Seattle Seahawks are the only teams to be 5-0 on Thursday night since 2016. Week 7, Sunday, October 24th, 4:05 p.m. at the LA Rams. Yep. Week 8, Sunday, October 31st, 1 p.m. at Detroit. Week 9, Sunday, November 7th, 4:05 p.m. at home against the Chargers. Week 10, Sunday, November 14th, 4:25 p.m. at the Broncos. Week 11, Sunday, November 21st, 1 p.m. against the Saints. Week 12, Sunday, November 28th at the New York Giants. Week 13, Sunday, December 5th, 1 p.m. at the Jets. Back-to-back games at the Meadowlands. And we have that Week 14 late bye as well. Which I really like. Then we have, and if you remember, Week 12 is the Giants, right? Then we have 4 straight NFC East games. So we have a bye in Week 14, Week 15, which for some reason that game is still to be determined as of today. I don't know why they haven't figured out a date, but it's going to either be Saturday or Sunday, December 18th or 19th. We play at home and we play the football team, Washington football team. Then Week 16, Sunday the 26th at 1 p.m., we play the Giants at home. Week 17, Sunday, January 2nd, 1 p.m., we go to the Washington football team, and we end the season the best way possible, beating the Dallas Cowgirls on Sunday, January 9th at 1 p.m. at home. Best way to end the season. As a reminder, we have the easiest strength of schedule based on our opponent's previous year's winning percentage. But we're not alone. The rest of the teams in our division are pretty similar. Dallas has the second easiest with their opponent's winning record of .452. Ours, by the way, is .43, our opponent's winning record. The Giants, number 25 out of 32, 32 being the easiest. They're at 0.474, and the Washington football team is tied for 15th at 0.504. So Washington is the only team in our division that is facing opponents that have won more than half of their games. Okay, and then the postseason, the wild card weekend, Saturday, Sunday, January 15th and 16th. We're going to skip over that and go straight to divisional playoffs. Saturday and Sunday, January 22nd and 23rd. Probably not likely that we win, that we're first place, but you never know. And then the championship games are Sunday, January 30th. And then our countdown goes to the Super Bowl 56, which is Sunday, February 13th, 2022, at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, which is the new home of the LA Rams and LA Chargers. And then a while from now, not really in anybody's mind, is the NFL Draft in Vegas, April 28th through the 30th of 2022. All right. So speaking of the draft, I'm going to recap the draft again, just to help your memory, to help my memory, and to update you when players move around. First, we'll go to the 2022 NFL Draft. Just so you know, we have 10 picks. We have 2 first rounders that stay first rounders, 2 second rounders, one of which can turn into that first if Carson Wentz plays enough games, a third and a fourth rounder, 2 fifths, a sixth and a seventh. So that's 10 picks in the 2022 NFL Draft. We initially started with 11 in this past year's draft. Go Birds. But we traded around and ended up having 9. I know that at one point, when we had 11, I think we had the most in the league, or we were tied for the most, one or the other. So having 10 going into next year, especially 2, maybe 3 first rounders, we are in an excellent spot no matter what happens this year with our team. Not that I'm suggesting I want anything bad to happen. I want it all to be good. I'd much rather be a contender and sacrifice draft spot this year than lose and get better draft position, because let's be honest. I mean, if we have 2 first rounders and possibly a third, that could pile on a good team, or it could, restart a poor team. So we'll see. All right. So 6 of our 9 draft picks this past year were captains on their college teams, and most of them, they met with the Eagles at the Senior Bowl. But just a quick rundown of our draft picks and undrafted free agents. 10th overall, of course, we all know that. First round, Devonta Smith, wide receiver from Alabama. Round 2, number 37th overall, center Landon Dickerson from Alabama, who just happens to be the only unsigned rookie left. All the other rookies have signed their contracts. And as of today, he still, as far as I know, he still hasn't signed, unless they just didn't report it. Round 3, number 73, Milton Williams, defensive tackle, Louisiana Tech. Round 4, number 123. Round 123. 123 overall. Round 4, Zach McPherson. We finally get a corner from Texas Tech. Round 5, number 150, running back Kenneth Gainwell from Memphis. Round 6, 189, Marlon Tuipulotu, defensive tackle from USC. Round 6, 191, Teron Jackson, defensive end from Coastal Carolina. Round 6, number 224, Jacoby Stevens, linebacker, safety from LSU. And then round 7, number 234, Patrick Johnson, outside linebacker from Tulane. So Edler Cordone said that, what grade would I give this past draft? I would give it, so if I'm gonna grade it based on what I would have done, I'd give him a B+. And I say that because I would have gone with the linebacker or the Patrick Surtain. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I would have gone with the linebacker. I can't think of his name. I should go back to my notes, but I would have picked. So what I would have done is, if possible, moved up for Kyle Pitts, right? If we couldn't have moved up for Kyle Pitts, and it would have had to have been, we couldn't have sold the farm just to get to him, right? Because I don't know that it would have made sense. But if we could have moved up, the only player I would have moved up for is Kyle Pitts. Because we didn't move up, I wanted a corner or linebacker, preferably a corner. Now I know we might have had to move up to get the corner I wanted. I didn't want Surtain. One of them had some history with injuries and some back injuries, opted out last year. Whoever that was, if it was Surtain or the other guy, I did not want that person. But I would have preferred a corner. I think we had a stronger corner. And I think I would have preferred to have gotten a veteran wide receiver, a bigger guy. And then I think from there, I think we would have been okay. Even if we would have gotten a late round wide receiver, I think we still would have been fine. There were still people available in the second round that I think would have been good enough. But we didn't get that vet at wide receiver. We did get the running back vet that I wanted. We did get the vet quarterback that I wanted, or the big running back that I wanted. but we didn't get the vet wide receiver. So I'm a little, so in lieu of that vet, I'm saying B+ because they didn't do what I wanted to do. That would have been, in my opinion, an A+, but I think they did about as close as they could have. And I agree too. I think the Dickerson pick, I'm hoping that turns out to be a really good one. I think he could be an excellent lineman. I don't know for sure that he ends up replacing Kelsey. It would be nice, but because most likely Kelsey's going to leave next year, I would think. But as long as he does well, as long as he gets experience this year, spelling something. Not that I don't want anybody to get injured, but as long as Landon Dickerson gets some time, I think Dickerson could turn out to be a great center. Or I think he also played. Well, he played I think all but. I don't think he played tackle. He played guard and center, both sides of guard, I think, in college. So Dickerson can be a versatile guy to spell the starters, and then use that experience to be a starter next year. Hopefully for Kelsey. Hopefully it's because he's retired and not because we have some more injuries. So that's the grade I would give us. I wish we would have got a corner earlier. I wish we would have went with a corner maybe in the second round. I would have earlier, but I saw that he won the best center award and all. Yeah, right. He got he's an excellent center, but he has versatility, and that's one of the things that if you go through a lot of their draft picks, in addition to them being captains and being at the Senior Bowl, most of them play more than one position, especially Landon Dickerson, where he can play both. Right, one of the best centers in college football, but also can play a guard. So in addition to those draft picks, thanks a lot. By the way, thanks for all the comments. Anybody else that wants to comment, go ahead and type it in. I should see it on here, and I can respond and even put it up here, and you can see it. So in addition to those draft picks, we also drafted we signed a couple of undrafted free agents, some of which have been waived since then. Jamie Newman, quarterback from Wake Forest, but we waived him. Jamon Osborne, a wide receiver from Texas A&M. Trevon Grimes, wide receiver from Florida. And frankly, he was the one I would say that out of everybody that we drafted, of course, besides Devonta Smith, because I'm really excited to see how well he does. Although I'm not a fan of his size. And I'm not concerned about injury. I'm concerned about bigger corners and, beating him off the line and throwing off but I've heard really good things about his patterns and stuff. I also, when watching film, he looks significantly faster without pads. So that was a concern. We always look at these 40 times. I wish they would run 40s or they would time their speed with full pads, because I think there's a significant difference. And I think that there's, for him anyway, it looked like there was he looked, when he threw with Alabama's quarterback, Mac Jones, right? When he was in Mac Jones's pro day, he looked fluid, he looked smooth, he looked fast. But then in highlights, he doesn't. I'm not saying he's slow by any means, but he just doesn't look as fast in the highlights. You don't see him in the highlights I watched anyway. You don't see him pulling away from receivers nearly as much as a guy like what was the other guy? The other receiver that was in the draft that was one of the fastest guys. You could see there was clear. He clearly would catch the ball and just pull away from everybody. And Devonta Smith didn't do that. So those are my concerns, but I completely understand. When have we drafted a Heisman winner? I'm not discounting that pick. I just would have gone a different way. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that Devonta Smith, continues his success into professional football, because we really need it. But going back to the undrafted guys, Trevon Grimes, I think would have been a great addition, and purely based on size. I don't know that he didn't put up great numbers, although he was playing with some other players that were. He played with Kyle Pitts, who took a lot of the ball. But he was a big guy. I think he was 6'4", 218. But Trevon Grimes was waived with an injury designation because he had surgery on his knee, and then we ended up giving an injury settlement, which doesn't mean he can't come back. It just means it's probably not very likely. What do I think about the two offseason pickups, Harris and Wilson? I think they were good. Honestly, for now, I don't know that those pickups, I don't think I'd have to look at my notes about them both specifically, because I don't recall. Eric Wilson, right, and Harris. I don't know. I think, I have to look up my notes off the top of my head. Frankly, I was in favor of both of them because they look like they can add value, and they were both in the secondary. I think the one guy, I don't know if it was Harris or Wilson, I think has a good shot at starting at safety. When you think about, what do we got? We have, man, I got to look up I was going to talk about our depth chart, but I just was talking about offensive linemen and running backs. So I don't have the whole depth chart in front of me. Let me pull it up so I can speak a little more intelligently. Okay. All right. So I think that Anthony Harris, I think, has a good shot at starting at safety, right? And I think that, in fact, I think he should. And then I think that Nate Meadors might have a shot at playing nickel, right? Because Kevin Seymour is not a real. And then who else? Andrew Adams can. I don't know that he's going to start, but I think Anthony Harris was a good pickup. Absolutely. Yeah, Harris actually absolutely will start at safety. Yeah, so I think they were both good picks. I don't know that I disagree with any of the signings we've had until training camp. Right, I won't disagree with them until they don't play well. They all seem to make sense. Just like the coaches, I don't disagree with any of our coaches. And if because especially if you look at them, they all have specialties in the so they all have specialties in the places we need them, right? They have specialties in wide receiver, quarterback, corner, right? Most of them specialize in that. So Edler said that Eric Wilson. So not only, I believe it was Eric Wilson, but not only did he have over 130 tackles, I think he was one of the best pass defending linebackers in the league, which again was something that I thought we really needed, was a pass defending middle linebacker. Singleton has done a great job at tackles, but we've struggled significantly in the pass game at linebacker. More so in zone than in cover in man, but still, a linebacker that has done well. And I think Eric Wilson was one of the best pass defending linebackers in the league last year. So I'm all for both of those picks. And I apologize. I have a horrible memory, so I have to run back and check my notes to confirm that stuff. But yeah, I think Eric Wilson will be a starter, and I'm happy that he has he has success catching. I believe if he's the guy that had the good stats as far as pass defense, he also did have, I think, one of the higher missed tackles numbers. If I'm correct, go Birds. Which is fine with me because we have that is real sweet. That is this Pynk. It's not tart. It's very sweet. Because if I'm not, I don't want anybody to miss tackles, but we needed somebody that can cover. Okay, so where were we here? Trevon Grimes, biggest disappointment, had the knee surgery. So just the reason I said I don't think he's coming back. So the way things work is that if you get injured, if it's a football related injury, and we talked about that definition in the past, right? If you get injured while you're practicing or playing, if it's a football related injury, you get put on injured reserve, right? If you are a player with a multi-year contract and it's a severe injury, you might be on IR for the rest of the season. And generally, when you're on IR, you're on it for you put somebody on IR, they're on it until they're healthy or to the end of the season. So if you're in a multi-year contract, you have a severe injury, you're on an injured reserve on IR, you stay there the rest of the season, and then next year you resume your contract. Not necessarily guaranteed a spot, right? But your contract just continues as if the injury didn't happen, right? You resume your contract, you go to training camp, all that stuff. However, if it's not a serious injury, they can put you on IR, but you technically can't get off again until you're healthy. And then when you're healthy, you can't go back onto the roster. You jump out and you go onto waivers, so the other teams can pick you up. A way to avoid having somebody on your IR for 8 weeks or whatever it takes for them to heal or have surgery and rehab, you can provide them with an injury settlement, right? So, and that's what the Eagles did. They gave Trevon Grimes an injury settlement. So they sit down and they figure out how many weeks he would or should have been out because of his injury, and then they give him those weeks in pay, and then they let him go immediately. And that's nice for him because he can now, while he's rehabbing and doing whatever he's doing to his knee, he can shop around for another team. But it's disappointing because he can still come back to the Eagles. The problem is, though, he can't. So let's say that they gave him an 8-week settlement. The Eagles can't sign him back to the roster until 8 plus 3 weeks have passed. Sort of a penalty for paying the injury settlement. So you can't pay an injury settlement and then sign them right back when they come back. You got to give other teams 3 weeks on top of the injury settlement to do that. So not saying he won't come back. I guess I'm hopeful that he does at some point, but it doesn't look likely as of right now. And then we had the last 4 undrafted free agents. We had Jack Stoll, tight end from Nebraska, Jaquan Bailey, defensive end from Iowa State, Coyote Awasika, offensive tackle from Buffalo, and Harry Kreider, another center from Indiana. So I said I was going to go over our depth chart today. So I'm going to start talking about, and again, a lot's going to change over the next, starting in July. A lot of stuff is possibly going to change. One of the things that Sirianni has said numerous times, and I think he's being honest, right? And partially because he's new, is that there's competition at all positions. There's no default starters, and I think that's a little, that's a little insincere, because let's be honest, there's some people that are definitely going to start. But at least there's competition, and I think that that's the whole point of is practices and getting together. The competition creates better play. Another person that said that people would compete was offensive line coach Jeff Stoutland. He stated that both Andre Dillard and Jordan Mailata will compete on equal footing at left tackle. I feel like Dillard's going to win out. Dillard's going to win out, but it's nice to see that they're giving him a chance, Mailata, because he had a decent year last year. I won't say that he was remarkable, but given the fact that he's a former rugby guy, I think he did really well. So there you go. Our offensive line, left tackle, I think Andre Dillard is going to be the starter. And again, all this stuff can change during training camp, and will change most likely during training camp. And then I think he's going to be followed by Mailata. I think there's going to be a great competition, but I think Dillard's going to win out. And then we got Brett Toth and Casey Tucker backing those guys up. Between the two of those, I'm not sure who's going to make it, and I don't even know how many offensive line we're going to carry. At left guard, I think Isaac Seumalo's got the job. But I think this is probably, if Landon Dickerson, and we talked about him being a great center, if he's got a shot at starting at any spot on the team, this would be it. I think out of all of our linemen, I think Isaac Seumalo is probably the weakest. So I think this would be Landon Dickerson's opportunity if he's going to make a push for a starting position, right? Because admittedly he was the best college center, right? But he's not going to replace Kelsey unless Kelsey leaves or gets injured. And that brings us to center, Jason Kelsey. Again, nobody's assumed a starter, right? There's competition everywhere, but let's be honest, Jason Kelsey is going to be starting at center unless he's unhealthy. Go Eagles. And behind him, we have Luke Juriga, who spent some time at center last year, and Ross Pierschbacher, I think is his name. And then we have the undrafted free agent Harry Kreider. Now, I don't know how likely it is that Harry Kreider makes a team, because he actually got on the team from Harry Kreider did from trying out at one of the rookie mini camps, and he was on, I think, either ours or somebody else's practice squad last year. So I'm not sure what the chances of him making the team are. Right guard, Brandon Brooks. He's clearly the starter, backed up by two pretty decent guys. Nate Herbig was okay. Matt Pryor had some good games as well. So not bad backups, but definitely backups. And then at right tackle, we have Lane Johnson. And by the way, if you didn't hear, both Brandon Brooks and Lane Johnson have said that they are 100% healthy. Lane Johnson's been running around, looks in good shape. So as of today, besides Trevon Grimes, which he's not really on the team anymore, we don't really have any major injuries, knock on wood, right? That's one of the worst things that can happen to you. So right tackle Lane Johnson, and then backed up by Jack Driscoll. We did trade or acquire LaRaven Clark. We'll see how he does in training camp. And then we did draft Coyote Awasika, right? So he's got a shot at playing. He was an undrafted free agent, so he's got a shot at making it. But again, I'm not sure how many offensive linemen we're going to carry. But that goes again. I think there's a pretty good consensus that Dillard, Seumalo, Kelsey, Brooks, and Johnson will be our starting five. And I think that's a pretty good offensive lineman. In the past, it's been rated one of the best in the league. And in fact, for all those people that blame the offensive linemen for most of our woes last year, I think they were rated 17th in the league, I want to say, which is slightly under, slightly worse than half of the teams out there, which is, given the 14 out of 14 different combinations at offensive linemen we had in 16 games, 17th isn't that bad. So that's where we stand with our depth chart at offensive linemen. Running backs, I have a bit of a prediction here, and we'll see if I'm right or wrong. I don't know if but so first of all, Miles Sanders is our clear starter, right? Miles Sanders is going to start at running back. Miles Sanders is, if healthy, could be one of the better backs in the league. I don't know if he could be number one because of his size, but he could absolutely be one of the top 10 running backs in the league if they give them the ball enough, right? And not only could Miles Sanders have a really successful season if they give him the ball enough, but also the Eagles could have a really successful season if they give him the ball enough. If you look back to last year, when they gave him the ball often, we did very well. And I remember in one game, we were dominating the game, running him often. He fumbled and we reversed course and didn't give him to him as much. And we ended up losing. But, and admittedly, he shouldn't be fumbling. But the point I'm trying to make is that not constant running, but dominating the football game with running plays worked well for us last year. And I think it'll continue. But what I think is going to change, and I don't know if I'm right about this or not, is I don't think Boston Scott's going to make it. I don't think Boston Scott is going to, I don't know. I just have a feeling that they're looking to get rid of him. And I'm not saying that Boston Scott is bad by any means. I'm not saying that he's not a good running back. I just don't think he's, in my opinion, he hasn't lived up to his hype. When Boston Scott came in, he looked like a good Sproles replacement. But he has not. He's been I would say he's in the role that he's played. He has been average. I wouldn't say he's been bad, and I wouldn't say he's been excellent. I would say Boston Scott has been average. Now he does return kicks. He does catch the ball, although he had a rough year last year, and he does run the ball. But he just doesn't do any of them really, really well. And he's not that quick change of pace that I thought he would be. He just doesn't have, I don't think anyway, the speed that he needs to be that change of pace back. He runs a 4.40, which isn't slow. But for that little guy that's supposed to hide behind offensive linemen, I just don't think he's. So in my opinion, I think we should give one of the younger guys a shot. Of course, this will all happen in training camp, but I really think that that's the way that we may go. So on top of Boston Scott, who I think, admittedly, I think the only advantage or the only thing Boston Scott's got for him is his height. And I know that sounds silly, but he's 5'6", so he should be able to disappear very easily under those 6+ foot, 6'2", 6'3" guy linemen, right? But that's about it. He's 203. He's not, he's not a real physical. He's not going to push through linebackers, right? So I have a feeling that I'm hopeful actually that he's gone because I'm not unhappy with what he's done, but I'm just not. It's not good enough. I think that we have a couple other guys on the team that might be able to replace his production and have the potential to do more because we know what Boston Scott's potential is. This is his fourth year. In the last 2 years, again, he's been very mediocre. So then we got Jason Huntley. He is 5'9", 193 and runs a 4.37 40. Excluding Miles Sanders because I didn't look up his 40 time. He is the fastest running back on our team, but he only has 5 NFL carries, so no experience. Then you got Kerryon Johnson. We got him from the Lions, 5'11", 211, and he runs a 4.52 40. Again, not a lot of experience, not of tape in the NFL to really watch. Then we got Jordan Howard. A lot of people don't think that Jordan Howard is going to make the team. I think he will. I think Jordan Howard will make the team mostly because of his size. I mean, he's 6 foot 224. He is by far the biggest running back that we have by at least 20 pounds, if not more. The only other guy that's around his size is Elijah Holyfield, who's 5'11", 215. But that guy's slow. He runs a 4.78. I ran a 4.6 when I was playing football, right? I ran faster than he did. 4.78 is horrible for a running back. And he's not that big, 215. If you're running a 4.7, 4.8 almost, you should be like 240, running people over as you mosey on to the end zone, right? So I think they're going to keep Jordan Howard. I think that Jordan Howard makes the roster. I think that he's our big physical back, who's a change of pace for Miles Sanders, who can be physical and can hit hard, but most likely won't because we want him to be. He's going to be more elusive. We don't want him to get beat up, right? So I think he'll be the main running back, and then Jordan Howard might be our third down back. He might come in as a third down back and go out to catch passes. But I think Jordan Howard's going to make it. I think Kerryon Johnson's going to make the team, 5'11", 211, and a 4.52 40. But I think he can add something that, he can basically replace Jason Huntley, who really didn't contribute much either. Adrian Killens, I think most people agree that he's not going to make it as a running back. 5'8", 164 pounds, although he runs the 40 and 4.39, so that is the second quickest. But I just don't think I think he's way too small to be a meaningful running back. I mean, a linebacker hits him and he might at 164 he might break. But I've read that he might be spending some time at slot receiver, and I don't know if that's because he thinks he might play there, or if they just are using him because he is a very similar size to some of the better slot receivers out there. I'm not sure, but I don't think he'll make it either. Go Birds. Now, the caveat to all this, and my little saving grace, so that if people say, you said he wasn't going to make the team, and he does, is that I'm only talking about people that are going to make the team purely as a running back, right? If they make the team for special teams, completely different story, because I'm not going to sit here and add up all the special team players because I have no idea who they would be. And then we got our rookie, Kenneth Gainwell. Now, I don't know how well Kenneth, you never really know how well players are going to, college stats are going to transfer into the pros. 5'11", 191, 4'4", 40. So right there with Boston Scott. A little taller, a little lighter, though. I think Kenneth Gainwell could fill the position that Boston Scott currently is, and I think he can do a better job of it, or I'm hopeful that he can do a better job of it. I don't think he can do much worse. I think, frankly, to do worse than Boston Scott, I don't know there are many running backs in the NFL that could do worse. Not that I'm saying he did poorly, but he just didn't do that well. So I think our three backup running backs will be Kerryon Johnson, Jordan Howard, and Kenneth Gainwell, along with Miles Sanders as a starter. I don't think Boston Scott. I'm thinking that Boston Scott won't make it, but we'll see. I could be completely wrong. All right, so that's the offensive line and running back depth chart. Next week we will go over defense, and we'll start with let's start with defensive linemen and linebackers. We'll go over those guys. Okay, we got some Eagles news to talk about. I've said this a couple of times because I'm so excited about it. June 11th, the state of Pennsylvania, the city of Philadelphia, all COVID-19 restrictions are eliminated, including mask mandates. So Philadelphia will absolutely have is approved to have a full stadium this season based on ticket sales to the practice. I'm not sure they'll be able to sell out. I'm sure they will, right? There's probably enough there's got to be enough fans to fill the stadium. But if they're not, and those guys skip on their season tickets, I'll be waiting because I'm on the list. No injuries to talk about as of today. There's no major injuries. We haven't had any real changes on the roster. We haven't grabbed anybody or any of that stuff recently. All right. So there was a tight end university that Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert attended. It was the first annual tight end university. It was held in Nashville, Tennessee. It was hosted by 49ers tight end George Kittle, Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce, and former tight end Greg Olsen. Over 40 NFL tight ends attended, and they focused on technique, film study, on-field drills, rehab, and recovery. I think the biggest reason why they did that, and the reason that I think that they felt that would be valuable, and I agree 100%, is that you have a room full of some of the best tight ends in the world, essentially, right? Because the NFL is the best football league out there, and they can kind of talk to each other, go over different techniques, and share success stories to so everybody gets better. And at first, you might say to yourself, "Well, why would you want your opponent to get better?" And realistically, making a tight end on the other team most likely isn't going to cost you a season, right? Or enough games to make it meaningful. But also, the better and more contributions that tight ends make as a group, the more they pay them, right? And the more they pay the top guy, the more they pay the little guy. So that kind of all helps everybody out. Some more news about jersey sales. I'm not sure the time frame, but there was a post recently that 2 Eagles were in the top 15 of jersey sales. Devonta Smith, number 11, and Jalen Hurts, number 13. So it's nice to see some of our guys selling some jerseys. Some NFL news. This is a little old, but I'm going to go over it anyway. The NFL and NFLPA agreed to a salary cap ceiling for 2022 of $208.2 million. So that means that's the highest it'll be next year. There's no floor as of now, so it could be anywhere between. I don't think it'll go below this year's of. It definitely won't go below 182.5 because that was significantly lower than 2020. I'm hopeful that they stay at that 208 because that would represent a $10 million increase, which is about average pre-COVID. There's a new schedule for roster cuts throughout preseason. It used to be you would hold 90 players on your team until after the last preseason game, and then you had to cut down to 53. Now, after the first preseason game on August 17th, you have to cut from 90 to 85. After the second preseason game, you cut from 85 to 80, and that's August 24th. And then after the third preseason game on August 31st, you got to cut from 80 to 53. Not a big difference, but it will make a difference because now you have, after the first preseason game, you have 5 times, you have 160 players now that aren't on a team that are looking for new teams that maybe you can sign and give them a shot in preseason instead of only being able to see them in in practice during the regular season. And same thing with the second game. You got another 160 players. And then you finally, after the third preseason game, have to cut all the way down. I've said this numerous times, but I actually have updated news about this. Roger Goodell had stated that he is he was optimistic and excited that they'll have full stadiums across the league this season. As of yesterday, the last NFL team, the Indianapolis Colts, have announced that they are approved for full capacity at home games. So that means that all 32 teams have now been approved to have full capacity at their stadiums this season. So as of today, and things could change. I would hope they don't, but as of today, every team in the NFL is approved to have full capacity, 100% people in their stadiums when the season starts. Another neat little thing, the NFL approved alternate helmets for teams that wear their throwback uniforms. So that means the Eagles can wear their Kelly Green jerseys and the Kelly Green helmet. That also means, this isn't Philadelphia Eagles related, but that also means, I don't know how many of you guys remember the old Tampa Bay Buccaneer jerseys and helmets and the old New England Patriot jerseys and helmets. I think those are amazing, and I would love to see the old white helmet with the orange Buccaneer and the old, I think they were white too, with the guy hiking the football on the. I think those were great helmets and jerseys. So it'd be nice to see those come back. But we'll be able to wear our old ones as well. Let's see. Players have until 4 p.m. on Friday, July 2nd. That's this Friday, 2 days from now. Go Birds. They have till this Friday, the 2nd, to tell their team if they're going to opt out of this season for COVID. You're technically still allowed to opt out. However, only higher risk players will get a stipend, still $350,000 like last year. But to qualify as high risk, you have to have opted out last season and have an effective contract executed before October 1st, 2020. So that basically means that rookies are ineligible for opting out as high risk. The only way that they can be opt out as high risk if you're a rookie is if you have a newly diagnosed CDC-defined higher risk condition. So that's the only way that anybody that has a contract executed after October 1st of last year, which includes all rookies, can opt out this year. If you voluntarily opt out, you can still do that. You just don't get a stipend, but your contract renews next year as if you didn't opt out. And all provisions of the 2021 contracts are applicable next year. For players under contract beyond 2021, the subsequent years will be extended. So it doesn't hurt your contract. I don't think you get, and we talked about this last year, but if you opt out, I don't think you keep that year as a year of service towards your pension, though. Talked about the rookie. There were some other things about fully vaccinated players. They're allowed to do more than those that are not vaccinated. One of the other things that the NFL and Players Union agreed to was that if you are vaccinated and you end up positive for COVID and have to miss a game, you still get your roster bonus, and that still counts as a game that you attended because you are vaccinated. So they're saying you tried to protect yourself and you still got it, so we're not going to punish you. All opt-outs this year are final. So if you opt out on July 2nd, you can't change your mind July 3rd, 4th, or anytime after that. And last year, 67 players opted out of the season throughout the whole NFL. I don't know if anybody's going to do it this year. I would hope not, but I haven't heard anything from anybody as of the other day when I was doing my preparing for my podcast. Nobody had opted out as of yet a few days ago. So let's just hope it stays that way. All right. The NFL decided to start accepting bids from other cities to host the NFL Combine. So I did a little bit of research on the Combine. I don't know what this is all about. I did a little bit of research on the Combine. Turns out that prior to 1982, which isn't that long ago, the teams scheduled individual visits with players to evaluate them. So every team would go out and reach out to the players they thought they might draft, and they'd have them do individual drills and they'd measurements and all that stuff. Tex Schramm, the president and GM of the Cowgirls, from 1960 to 1989, proposed that they have a centralized evaluation process for NFL teams. And he did that in 1981. They started what was called the National Invitation Camp in Tampa, Florida in 1982. It was originated by National Football Scouting as a means for the teams to look for NFL draft prospects. For people that weren't part of the National Football Scouting Association, they created two other camps that were used in 1982 to 1984. The national, what was it called? The NIC, the National Invitation Camp, was held in New Orleans in 1984, and then it was renamed the NFL Scouting Combine when they put those two camps and the NIC together in 1985, because it costs more to run three than it does one combine. In 1985, the combine was held in Arizona, and then it was held in New Orleans in 1986. But from 1987 until, it didn't happen last year, but till 2019, it has been in Indianapolis. So this will be the first time since 1987 that the combine will not be in Indianapolis. So it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. Very similar story to the draft, if you guys aren't aware. The NFL draft was almost always in New York City. And then a few years ago, they decided to let other teams bid for it, and it went to Philadelphia, it went to Chicago, then to Philadelphia, and it'll be in Vegas next year. Good way for the NFL to make money, and I think that's why they do it, right? Okay, so that is it. We're moving to the Eagles fact, the world-renowned, world-famous Eagles fact, bald eagle fact, right? Go Birds. So the Eagles fact, bald eagle fact today, I'll tell you, it's a unique beer. We're going to talk about the fourth Philadelphia Eagle to ever be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And that was a guy by the name of Earl Greasy Neal. Now, the Greasy part of his nickname, right? Everyone thinks it was because he was elusive when he was playing football. It's not the case. Apparently, it came from a childhood argument. I guess somebody called him Greasy, and it stuck. So he is now Earl Greasy, or he was Earl Greasy Neal. So this guy was played three sports. Played three sports. He played professional baseball and football, and he must have played basketball as well, because he ended up coaching college and professional football. He coached college basketball and he coached college baseball. And at one point, he was doing almost all of them at the same time. So as a baseball player, he was an outfielder for the Cincinnati Reds for 8 years, and all of 22 games he was a Cincinnati Red. There was a brief period where he played for the Phillies in 1921, and he only played for them for 22 games, and he went back to the Reds. So he basically was a Cincinnati Red his whole life. He started right field. In 1919, he started right field and played in the World Series. In the World Series, he batted .357, and he led the Reds with 10 hits in their 8-game series, and they won that World Series over the White Sox in 1919. He ended his baseball career with a batting average of .259. He had 8 homers, 200 RBIs, and 139 stolen bases. I think he led the league a few years in stolen bases as well. He played professional football back before it was the NFL. Back before it was the NFL, in the early 1900s. 1917, he played for the Canton Bulldogs, and they won the Ohio League championship. In 1918, he played for the Dayton Triangles. He also coached them in 1918, so he was the coach and a player of the Dayton Triangles, and in that year, they also won the Ohio League championship. And then he played football for the Massillon Tigers in 1919. If anybody, as a side note, we're talking about a Hall of Fame guy, right? So if anybody hasn't been to the Hall of Fame, one of my favorite parts of the Hall of Fame is they have this huge wall, and it's like a timeline. And they have every single team that had ever played professional football. And by the way, I'm not sure if you guys know, it's called the Professional Football Hall of Fame, not the NFL Hall of Fame, because a lot of the teams, it was pre-NFL, right? 1917, 18, and 19, they were in what was called the Ohio League. And the Eagles weren't even a team back then. I think, if anything, it was the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets before they were the Eagles in the NFL. And that was because Pennsylvania wouldn't let you play a sport on Sunday. And in 1933, they changed it. So then Pittsburgh and Philadelphia created teams. But this guy was playing 17, 18, and he was playing football, coached the team in 1918, right? In addition to playing professional football, he coached. He started out in college, though. He was a head coach, a football head coach While still a professional football player and a professional baseball player, he was a football head coach for a bunch of different colleges from 1915 to 1940. So he was the head coach for Muskingum College in 1915, West Virginia Wesleyan College 1916 to 17, Moretta College 1919 to 1920, Washington and Jefferson College 1921 to 22, University of Virginia 1923 to 1928, West Virginia University from 1931 to 33. He was the assistant football coach at the Yale Bulldogs football from 1934 to 1940. He has a career football college coaching record of 82, 54, and 11. And he led Washington and Jefferson to the Rose Bowl in 1921, which I didn't think could happen, but ended in a scoreless tie. I didn't know the championship games could end in a tie, but in 1921 it did. He coached basketball for 2 years at Marietta from 1919 to 1921. He was the head baseball coach at Virginia from 1923 to 1929. And he had, as a basketball coach, he had a career record of 26 and 11. As a baseball coach at Virginia, college baseball coach, from 1923 to 1929, he had a career record of 80, 73, and 2. He began his professional football coaching career in 1941 when he was hired as the Philadelphia Eagles head coach, and he stayed the head coach from 1941 to 1950. He had a 6-season block from 1944 to 1949 in which the Eagles were either in first or second place. Half the time they were in first place, the other half the time they were in second place. They went to 3 consecutive NFL championship games while he was the coach, which means they won 3 straight NFL Eastern Division titles, because back then, if you won your division, I think he went straight to the championship. They lost their first championship game in 1947 to the Chicago Cardinals, but then they had a repeat the next year in 1948, and they beat the Chicago Cardinals 7-0. And then they repeated they went the third time and they beat the LA Rams 14-0 in 1949. So back-to-back wins, 3 consecutive years in the championship, and 3 consecutive NFL Eastern Division titles. That would by far be the most successful NFL Philadelphia Eagles coach in history. If you're not including only the coaches from the Super Bowl era, because most people do. Most people look back at coaches like Greasy Neal and all those guys, and sure, they took them to the championship and they won championships, but that doesn't carry nearly as much weight as Super Bowls do, because at the time I don't know if in the early 40s there was a competing league, but later in the 60s there was the AFL. So were you really the football champion? You don't really know. Some of the players that he had on his teams, his offense was led by quarterback Tommy Thompson and 2 future Hall of Famers, tight end or end Pete Piehouse. He was an offensive end, and running back Steve Van Buren, who was one of the better running backs, again, in the history of the NFL when you compare him to what he did in his time. Including playoffs, his career professional football coaching record was 66, 44, and 5 in 10 seasons. So this guy coached college baseball, college basketball, college football, professional football, and in all 4 of those coaching careers, he had winning records. He did not have a losing coaching record. And in his sports career, he played and won in a World Series, 1919. He coached a team to the Rose Bowl. He coached a team to 3 NFL championships, winning 2. And in 1919, he was a very busy guy. Of course, he won the World Series playing professional baseball with the Cincinnati Reds. He played professional football for the Massillon Tigers. He was the football head coach at Marietta College, and he was the basketball head coach at Marietta College. So this guy was doing everything, and he was doing it all in the same year. He was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1967 and inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1969. And again, he is the 4th Philadelphia Eagle to have been inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Now, he was inducted both to the College and Pro Football Hall of Fames as a coach, not as a player. All right, that is the end of my podcast. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Do me a favor, follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. I think that's all I have. I haven't made it to TikTok or Snap yet. I'm a little too old for that stuff. But keep an eye out for me on those things. Now, my handle on most of that stuff is Bald Eagle 4133. the score of the Eagles Super Bowl win. But I'm also on YouTube. If you look for me, you might have to type in the Bald Eagle podcast. And you can find old, not a lot because there were some issues with them getting deleted, but you can find some old episodes and you can rewatch the new ones as well. So look me up on YouTube, the Bald Eagle podcast. Don't type in the Bald Eagle because then you'll see a bunch of actual bald eagles. You won't see football, and that's what you really want to see is football, right? Watch all my episodes. I'm live every Wednesday at 6 p.m. during the off season. When games start, I will most likely be on twice, Wednesdays at 6, and I recap the games in more detail than anybody else. I go play by play and describe them. Hopefully, I'm able to get comfortable enough creating and editing videos so I can show clips as well of what I'm talking about. And watch all the shows on my new network. Same guys, we just created our own thing. The Philly Sports Alliance. You may have noticed this little logo on the top right that I'm allowing to cover up the Eagles helmet. That's not, I don't think that's going to be our final logo, but just keep an eye out for that logo. Follow the Philly Sports Alliance on all social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff, wherever you can find them, because we have a whole line of shows almost every day of the week. On Monday at 6 p.m., we have the Football Smack Talk show. I'm actually going to put up the, give me a minute here, guys. I'm going to put up the schedule so you can see it while I'm rambling here. There we go. And I apologize. We haven't updated the name, so it says Phillyverse. That's who we were before, but we're now the Philly Sports Alliance. But this is still our schedule. Monday, you have the Football Smack Talk show at 6 p.m. It's Ryan Reese and Eric Ward, all football, mostly Eagles. Monday at 7:30, the Diamond Club podcast. That is John Hunter, Chris Lahiff, and Danny Hart. That's all Phillies. Wednesday at 6 p.m., you know you're watching the Bald Eagle podcast, right? But afterwards, at 8 p.m., is Mixed Sports, all football, featuring Eric Ward and Jay Landry. I actually think that Jay Landry is a Cowgirls fan. I think that's what makes that interesting. You got an Eagles fan and a Cowgirls fan arguing all the time. Thursday at 5:30, we have Tendies on Patterson. On Pattison, featuring Paul Batcho, Jack Griffin, and Chris Lahiff. That's an all Flyers hockey show. Thursday at 9, we got Tables, Ladders, and Chairs at 9 p.m. That is a wrestling show featuring Eric Ward and Joe Barry. And then Friday at 6:30, we have the Philly Broadcast featuring Ryan Reese and Ryan Finneran. That is a 4 Sports, primarily Philadelphia, but 4 Sports podcast show. All right, that is it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Go Eagles.